Welcome to the channel, and for today's video I went to visit this amazing massive fortress that has been around since the early Byzantine era in Corfu. This was my very first fortress overseas visit, and just after touchdown as well, so I was really hyped to see what this place was all about. The earliest date for any fortifications was around 6th century AD, of which the destruction of the city of Corfu, the citizens had to result of hiding behind the fort away from the invaders of the Ostrogoths, pretty much the Gothics. With many problems of no power, whether from a political or military ruler leadership, the fort had bare minimum of its structure resources around the citadel of 7th to 10th century AD. However, the reinforced fortifications started to come around the 11th century AD, where a certain person, Anna Komnenin, referred to as very strongly fortified city of Corfu in her book Alexade. The citadel had two highest peaks which featured the strong towers for many centuries to come. The western and the higher peak, which was closer to town, was fortified by the Byzantines in the 12th century AD and was called Castel a Terra, or Castle near the land, by the Venetians, who also called it Castel Nuovo, or Newcastle. The eastern peak was called Castel a Mare, Castle by the Sea, or Castel Vecchio, Old Castle, by the Venetians, and was also used as a powder magazine for the time. Following from the Gothic invasions up until the 13th century, the medieval town of Corfu developed much more superior boundaries of the city, including the peninsula where the old fort still stands today. By the 15th century, the Venetians had to replace even further of the fortifications so it would hold its ground once more for up-and-coming invasions. When the first siege of Corfu occurred by the Ottomans in 1537, the Venetian governor at the time decided it was best to rebuild redeveloped its defences between 1545 to 55 by including new bastions and towers for which it still stands to this day. This shows you how art of engineering was approached in its heyday. Some of its buildings you will see here indicated how much technology and design was included to build such a superpower fortress. As part of its defense plans, they decided to secure the area by creating a contrafossa, a moat that transformed the citadel into an artificial island separated from the main city of Corfu. As well, this happened. The Venetians built a drawbridge to get across one side to the other. Now it's just a permanent bridge access to the fort. the attacks from the Ottomans, sieges of Corfu in 1537, 1571 and 1716, they were all repelled and destroyed many lives and buildings from the outside of the citadel. It soon became apparent a stronghold for sure. Another ruined castle in the northwest of the country also was attacked from the Ottomans, that I will show you in another video in due time. This provided success for the creation of this wonder architectural site. In 1718, a lightning strike hit the gunpowder room, which caused a huge wave of explosion that would destroy many buildings surrounding the fort and killed hundreds of people, for which included Captain Andrea Pisani. It would be the worst disaster in Corfu history to be witnessed. Schulenburg rebuilt the old fortress and constructed two new forts on Arami and Sarako hills by 1721. These were eventually demolished when Corfu was united with Greece, as required by the Treaty of London back in 1864. The governors of the old and new fortresses were elected by the Venetian Senate, and they were appointed by a period of 2 years. Both captains were sworn before the Senate, and part of their oath was never to communicate with each other during their 2-year tenure as governors of the fortresses. This was for security reasons, in case one captain could persuade the other to commit treason against the Republic. There was an incident in 1923, which would be the Corfu incident, known as where the Italian Air Force would bombard the old and new fortress. It would trigger when an Italian general heading a commission to resolve a border dispute between Albania and Greece was murdered in Greek territory, along with 2 other officers of his staff. In response, Benito Mussolini issued an ultimatum to Greece. When it was not accepted in whole, dispatched forces to bombard and occupy Corfu. Mussolini defied the League of Nations and stated Italy would leave if it arbitrated in the crisis, and the Conference of Ambassadors instead eventually tendered an agreement favouring Italy. This was an early demonstration of the League's weakness when dealing with larger powers. And of course, this island was occupied by the Nazis towards the end of the World War II. The fort was used as an imprisonment detention centre for captured Jews, which caused a much devastation effect on the nation over time. Around 1800, Corfuan Jews were deported to Birkenau concentration camp. Only around 120 managed to return home, what was left in despair. In modern times, the fortress is now being used as a public library of Corfu, which is located in the old British barracks. There are also some remaining ruins of the barracks location suited here. The grounds as well hold various of art and culture exhibits. The Hellenic Music Research Lab of Einingen University is located in the old fortress, which is pretty much the same building, which I had thought it would have some such smoothing sounds to hear when I went past at the time of their studies. Thank you for watching this video, and sure was an exceptional visit to one of the greatest fortresses on the island that sure had numerous of history behind it. Please consider subscribing and liking the content to show support on the channel, and stay tuned for the next adventure in the near future.